Michael is still en route to his home in Finland. He asked me to host today's webinar, the second in a series on the Festival of Humanity. During this webinar, I'll be paying tribute to the works of Nicholas Roerich. Today marks the second day of renunciation and detachment. Detachment is one of those words which, when used in the context of DK's teachings, implies an altogether different meaning than it does in normal use. Detachment involves moving beyond a personality perspective. DK says in a letter to the disciple LDO, detachment is an outstanding requirement and a quality to be cultivated. This is not the detachment of self-protection or of self-immunization or of aloofness, but that soul detachment which works from soul levels and, seeing all life in the light which streams from the soul, regards everything from the standpoint of eternity. You will then see the real values involved and the true perspective of the picture. Of course, this is a very high level of achieved detachment. It comes in progressive stages. In a letter to BSD, another disciple, DK says, discipleship involves responsibility, and that in its turn is developed through suffering. This leads inevitably to detachment. That process of detachment will go forward in connection with all in the group and must entail difficulty. This difficulty may involve a constant stream of minor problems and detachments which will color ceaselessly your life of service, your life in the home, and your contacts in the world. The generic keynote for the second day of preparation for the Festival of Humanity is aspiration. DK tells us that through selflessness, emotional ambition eventually becomes spiritual aspiration. He says, before the spirit can function through forms of the fifth or spiritual kingdom, this desire vibration has to be eliminated and selfish inclination transmuted into spiritual aspiration. And then a bit later he says, the Christ focuses in himself the outgoing demand and the spiritual aspiration of the entire planet. The keynote for this second of three preparatory meditations is resurrection. In this concept lies the reality of continuity, of consciousness, and of evolution. The Tibetan tells us, resurrection is the keynote of nature. Death is not. Death is only the antechamber of resurrection. Resurrection is the clue to the world of meaning and is the fundamental theme of all the world religions, past, present, and the future. Resurrection of the spirit and man in all forms, in all kingdoms, is the objective of the entire evolutionary process, and this involves liberation from materialism and selfishness. In that resurrection, evolution and death are only preparatory and familiar stages. During the coming century, the meaning of the resurrection will be unfolded, and the new age will reveal its true significance. He continually emphasizes that resurrection is an ongoing process of becoming that is a part of all of us. The seed of the resurrection is in each of us. In Externalization of the Hierarchy, he says, forget not one important point. The hierarchy itself is the result of human activity and aspiration. It has been created by humanity. Its members are human beings who have lived suffered and achieved, failed, attained success, endured, and passed through the experience of resurrection. They are the same in nature as are those who struggle today with the processes of disintegration, but who, nevertheless, have in them the seed of resurrection. And finally, I'd like to offer this quote, one of the most hopeful passages in all the Blue Books. The fact of the resurrection will be demonstrated during the next few centuries, and the living Christ will walk among men and lead them onward towards the Mount of Ascension. The Pentecost will become truth. All men will come under the tide of inspiration from on high, and though they may speak with many tongues, they will all understand each other. So, on this note, I'd like to begin our meditation. We'll start with an Om. Withdraw your consciousness from the personality and its vehicles and enter deeply into the presence of the soul. Feel yourself established as a soul within the field of light, love, and spiritual power. Merge yourself as a soul into a deep sense of the group soul. Now, imaginatively unite in soul with the spiritually minded people of the world and with the men and women of Goodwill. From this perspective of group soul, Visualize the group soul merging into the one soul of humanity. Realize that there is no my soul and thy soul. Come to that point within yourself where you can truly say, not is, but me. Now, imagine a potent point of tension fed by the will aspect of the soul in accordance with your soul ray, gathered at the mental unit and forming the foundation of the Antakarana. If you don't know your soul ray, use the second ray of indigo blue in your visualizations. Now, in this process of beginning to build the Antakarana, imagine a potent point of tension. And from that, visualize your dual-colored individual Antakarana, or rainbow bridge, connecting your lower mind, centered in the mental unit, with the Manasic permanent atom, and subsequently with the Buddhic and Atmic permanent atoms of the spiritual triad. The first part of the rainbow bridge, the Antakarana, comes from the Manasic permanent atom. That is to say, it comes from the mental unit and is built to the Manasic permanent atom. And then from that, continue the visualization to the Buddhic and Atmic permanent atoms. Use the color indigo, as I mentioned before, especially if you do not know your soul personality ray and personality rays. Otherwise, use the colors of your soul and personality rays, with the soul ray color more prominent. First ray red, second ray indigo blue, third ray green, fourth ray yellow, fifth ray orange, sixth ray silvery rose or light blue, and the seventh ray violet. Imagine your individual antakarana merging with the group antakarana, which is colored with all the 7 colors, but primarily the deep indigo blue of the second ray, both reaching into the realms of the spiritual triad. And in the visualization of your individual antakarana colors, make them a part of the group antakarana. Blend them into the group antakarana. Attempt to deeply feel this connection. Through the color and through the visualization of this group antakarana, have an experience of this connection with the group. Inwardly, and in continued identification with the group soul, affirm the great word of power, I see the greatest light, as you imaginatively project a line of vivid, living, white light into triadal realms along the individual and group antakaranas from an established point of individual and group tension on the mental plane. So you project this light from the mental plane up into the triadal realms. Now, while in the presence of this great light of the spiritual triad, attempt to feel the presence of the Great White Brotherhood, the Lodge of Masters, the spiritual hierarchy of our planet. Inwardly and with heartfelt gratitude, Offer your salutations to the masters and to the head of the hierarchy, the Christ. Salutations to the Buddha, the Lord of light and wisdom. Salutations to the Christ, the Master of all masters. Salutations to the triangle of masters with whom we work most closely. Salutations to Master Morya. Salutations to Master Kudhumi. Salutations to the Master Dual Ku. Salutations to the spiritual hierarchy of our planet. Now imaginatively raise your thought to Shambhala, the center where the will of God is known, and with deepest reverence and in all humility, attempt, identified as the group soul, to attune with the presence of Sanat Kumara, standing at the center of Shambhala. Sound a long, silent Om as you imagine the group imbued with his energy. Realize that Shambhala is the planetary center through which the energies of the constellations and the planets initially entered, according to the law of assembly, to be distributed to all sentient beings upon the earth. This is especially true at the time of the full moon. Okay. Now let us align briefly with the spiritual qualities emanating from the three planetary rulers of the sign Gemini. Mercury, the exoteric ruler, conveying the nature of the pairs of opposites. Venus, the esoteric ruler, uniting the pairs of opposites. And the earth, the hierarchical ruler, which stands for the field of service. Now, let us raise our imaginative group consciousness to the solar logos, expressing through our sun and the solar system. Attempt to feel that the great second ray of the solar logos, the God of love wisdom, is pouring through all planets, Shambhala, and every monad, soul, and personality on planet Earth. Now let us focus our imaginations on the constellation Gemini, radiating the light of interplay. This is a line of light beams revealing that which opposes, or the basic duality of manifestation, the relationship of spirit and form. It is the conscious light of that relationship. Let us open ourselves to feel the energy quality of Gemini, attempting to realize its profound relationship to the second ray of love wisdom and via Mercury, Venus, and Earth, to the fourth, fifth, and third and second rays respectively. attempt to realize the connection of the Gemini energy to the forces of reconstruction, making possible the rebuilding of human civilization and the planet, according to the plan indicated by the forces of restoration. The entire process pursued in an illumined manner within the light shed by the forces of enlightenment. Finally, let us ponder deeply on the mantra for Gemini. I recognize my other self, and in the waning of that self, I grow and glow. An attempt to grasp its esoteric meaning and significance. Recognize that the perspective of this mantra is a soul perspective. And now we'll move our attention to the Christ and the Buddha. Let us focus our meditative attention on the Christ and the Buddha, realizing their brotherhood as they represent the West and the East and the spiritual union of these two hemispheres. Let us attempt to realize the manner in which they stand for the constellation Gemini, the brothers in the light. In this day of preparation for the day of the full moon itself, when Christ preaches the last sermon of the Buddha before the assembled hierarchy and the hearts and minds of all human beings, let us ponder on the following words from the last sermon of the Buddha. Quote, "While subject to sensations, Let him continue so to regard the sensations that he, being strenuous, thoughtful, and mindful, may, whilst in the world, overcome the grief which arises from the sensations. Affirm in yourself the fact that you can be strenuous, thoughtful, and mindful in the overcoming of the grief which arises from sensations, and resolve to be so. With profound gratitude to the Buddha for all he has done to illumine humanity, let us now refocus our attention on the Christ. With the utmost heartfelt attentiveness of which we are capable, let us listen inwardly, imagining that we hear the Christ sounding the great invocation. It is said that on each of the 3 days of preparation prior to the full moon, Christ speaks the great invocation alone. Again, listening inwardly with great care, we imagine the Christ and the entire hierarchy intoning the second stanza of the great invocation. From the point of love within the heart of God, let love stream forth into the hearts of men. May Christ return to earth. Let us contemplate the deep significance of these words. Let us imagine the love of God pervading humanity and the planet. We see a human race characterized by right human relations, and our planet expressing its great second-ray soul. On each of the 3 days before the day of the Gemini full moon, Christ and his hierarchy are said to emphasize a distinct keynote. In imagined concert with the Christ and the spiritual hierarchy, let us contemplate the second keynote, described by the Master DK as follows. The keynote of resurrection, emphasizing the new note of livingness, of the living Christ, and of that life more abundantly, which has been made possible by forcing a return to the real values. We envision the spirit of resurrection and a response to the life more abundantly, growing in ourselves and in all human beings. We imagine how we may express this new note of livingness. We affirm our solidarity with the Buddha, the Christ, and the assembled hierarchy. Let us seek to identify with them and to merge our purpose with their purpose. Let us imaginatively merge with them and bless the world in silence. Let us now pause for a moment of appreciation of the illumined, loving energies pouring to us from the constellation Gemini, and feel ourselves imbued with these energies, which are growing in strength as the full moon approaches. As if in union with the Christ, the hierarchy, and all disciples in the world, let us sound together the second stanza of the great invocation, sensing the manner in which hierarchical love leads to, quote, life more abundantly, unquote, and the resurrection of the Spirit. from the point of love within the heart of God. Let love stream forth into the hearts of men. May Christ return to earth. Thank you all for attending. It's been an honor to host these two webinars. Michael will be with us tomorrow for the third in the series with the Keynote content. Okay, bye for now.